All right, welcome back to Intuition to Income 2025. And I am so excited you're here as always. And today I have a special soul friend. So, this woman, we like energetically met. I think I want to say like 20 years ago. I might get the years wrong, but it was a very long time ago. And she kept being like, I know you. And I'm like, I don't remember what you look physically, but I know your energy. And it was like the same for her. Like, I know who you are, right? So we recently connected, and it was just one of those connections, where you're like, man, it's like you know each other and you can just like you never left, right? You never left a lifetime. You just know each other. So it's been so much fun. And she's this powerful leader, intuitive mentor. She has an amazing leadership program. She's on Ohm Times, and she honestly has helped me personally. Like, I did a session with her last week and I was like, wow, this stuff works. This is what you do. Like, this is cool. So it's just super fun to bring people on that have this just juicy information to just like jazz you up, get you connected deeper to your intuition, and really take that next step in your life, whatever it is. So, Venus, if you want to welcome yourself to the show, just let us know a bit more about who you are.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it was great. I was thinking that too. I was like, it was 20 years ago, which blows my mind because it's like, it seems like it was yesterday. And then we actually reconnected on our like birthday. Like we
Oh,
had the same birthday. Like, and I was like, what?
yeah.
Like that was just really cool. And that's when you just know you're in the flow, you're following your intuition.
Yeah.
And what I think was also really cool about that was I was at an expo in San Diego when you reached out to me. So I was in San Diego again. So you energetically must have felt me. And then you were like, hey, let's connect.
Right. That's the cool thing about intuition. It's like yesterday, one of my clients, I'm like, just thinking about you. She's like, it's my birthday. I was like, oh, I must have been feeling it. Isn't that
Right?
cool?
Yeah.
Like, if we just
Yeah.
listen to that, it's so fun.
Yep. Intuition is just so fun. Yep.
Yeah.
I've been a seeker, I guess. I've learned 25 different modalities over the years. Randomly became a clairvoyant medium when I turned 30, started seeing aliens and dead people. I
Careful now,
have
you're
fun.
freaking me out. I just see the angels. No, I'm just kidding. I just like hanging out with the angels.
Yep. So, but of course, I was at the time, I didn't really know what was going on. I felt like I was going crazy. And I didn't really have any mentors or guides at the time. So, over the years, I've developed my own programs to help people through their own spiritual awakenings. And now I work with spiritual leaders, how to take their businesses and their lives to the next level. So,
I love that. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, it's just, or I'm saying it's such a joy to just have you and just share your presence and your love. So, just to connect in with everybody listening and sharing what you feel intuition is, Venus, like what is it that, yeah, what is intuition to you and how do you connect to your intuition?
hmm. That's a great question.
Mhm.
Well, a lot of people probably think that you think, and it's not, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
It's just a knowing. I call it following the whispers because I'll get like this random impulse to like get in my car and go a different direction and I end up somewhere really cool and I'm like, oh, I had no idea this was even here.
Yeah.
Um, I love to do trails and hike in the woods and stuff. So for me, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know there was a trail here. And but my intuition was like, try over here,
Yeah.
go this direction. And that I would say my intuition's probably the strongest even in nature or when I'm at least connected to nature. It's like, feeling myself grounded, feeling myself embodied,
Mhm.
not being, all esoteric and out here and in my head, instead just being in my heart. And you just know stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like grounded and embodied. So in your own body. And to me, nature does the same thing for me. And I think probably for everybody, right? Because I actually call it earthing. Like if you even just put your feet on the earth and you're like, oh, you can like feel the rhythm of the earth. You can feel, Mother Earth just through you, right? As you. So it's just a beautiful practice, right? To get into nature, whether it's like a 15-minute walk or jog or swim, whatever it is, or go sit under a tree or hug a tree, man. Like I'm originally
Yeah.
from Oregon. It's like for tree huggers. It's like San Diego. But shoot, you gotta love those trees. So it's like just, yeah, connect in. I love that you said that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I love plants too. Like it's just that in when it's cold, I live somewhere where it's snowy. So now it's like, how do you connect to nature? It's like I have fur babies and I have plants and stuff. So you can connect to nature inside too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. So, how have you followed your intuition to greater income in your life?
Well, it's never, I was thinking about this. I was like, it's never linear. Like you think that, you have this impulse to like, a great example is why I was in San Diego 3 weeks ago. And I went to be a vendor and a speaker, a keynote speaker at this expo. And the projected amount of people was supposed to be like 3,000 people. I think maybe 100 people walked through that
I
thing.
think I know what expo you were talking about. And I purposely didn't sign up because I was like, this is a game, like a gimmick, but it's okay. You probably met people that you're meant to. But as far as the financial breakthrough, I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no. So, but yeah, that was it. Like I intuitively know I was supposed to go no matter what and do this keynote and all that stuff. And I ended up speaking to basically all the vendors, and I had a really good handful of all the vendors come to me for like a little mini reading.
Yeah,
And like I was like, oh, I'm not here for the 3,000 people that are supposed to come. I'm here for the vendors.
right. Yeah, and here's what
And
really, sorry, can I interrupt
yeah,
you
go
really
ahead,
quick?
please. Yeah.
So, like, intuition is always right. So, my intuition was like, ooh, don't go there. You're not going to make the money that you would, right? It's not a good financial
Mhm.
investment, which was correct. Your
Right.
intuition was also correct. Well, my intuition says to go, but it was to go for a different reason. And you got exactly what you needed. So, that's why
Yeah.
it's so important to listen to our own intuitions because it might be different for somebody else, So, I just wanted to
Exactly.
highlight that really quick because it's
Yeah.
always going to be right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great, like, your intuition is not going to make sense to most people.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be like, I don't understand why you're choosing that, or, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Totally.
but
But you
when
know.
you know. Yep.
Yeah. 100%. Oh, I love that. So, all right, coming back to the question, how have you followed your intuition to greater income?
So just being willing to follow the whispers and not be attached to an outcome.
Okay.
So that was kind of one of the reasons of that story, because I may get the intuitive hit to create a program, but if I am not attached to necessarily the numbers in there, but again, it connects me to a certain number of people or a certain person, one person,
Mm.
that then leads me to more private sessions, or it never seems to be linear for me, but it always creates more income if I'm willing to trust it and follow it, even if it doesn't make sense in my head.
Totally. So what I feel intuitively is like energy out, energy back. Do you agree with that? It's kind of like you're
Yeah,
putting the energy in, you're putting the love in, you're willing to take the action, then you let go of the outcome, and then something comes back to you, maybe even better than what you thought, right? Like those
right,
connections to the other like vendors were probably deeper than a bunch of attendees because you're like kind of connecting with the same vibration of who you are?
right.
So
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, yeah. And it's the universe will always surprise you if you let it.
Yeah. Totally.
So.
I love it. So, as you've been following your intuition to greater income, how have you seen that be of service, right? Because what I have come to know is as we follow our intuitions to income, it naturally serves people. So, I'm just curious how that looks for you and like your journey of that.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, obviously for a long time, I was doing a lot of things to fix myself because I thought I was broken. And then I did a lot of things based on like trying to get validation or ego out of, it was a lot of ego stuff and that I had to work through. And then eventually, when I worked through all that stuff, it became about, okay, so who can I serve and how can I serve them? And it just shows up in random ways. It could be a conversation with one person. It could be um, picking up a piece of trash. It's like, I know we don't think that big of a deal, but if everybody picked up a piece of trash when they saw it, we'd
Yeah.
have an even more beautiful place, right? So but it's like being willing to just be in the moment and serve whoever's there in that moment.
Yeah. I love that. It's one of the questions I ask in my program too. It's like how do we serve, right? Because that is kind of what we're here to do, right? Like once we connect with our purposes, how do you share that? So what I'm really feeling in this moment is a way for you to connect with the audience, like through your heart in one of your teachings or a technique or some way they can experience you. Because, like I said, I've experienced, I was like buzzing for a day after. I was like, what? I was like, what? I feel so light. So it would just be cool for them to have an experience of you. If there's something that comes through you in this moment that you'd like to just connect with the audience with and share, that would be amazing. Yes. Yeah, you'll wait for the download, wait for the whisper.
Yeah.
Got you, totally. And by the way, as she's doing that, you can go to her website, which is www.venuscastleberg.com. And that's VenusCastleberg.com. And then if you click on services, she's going to share a way that you can work with her. But I just want to give that site, now, and you might mention it later, but just so people can, start planting that seed of a cool place to go. So yeah, what's coming through, sister?
Awesome. So one of the tools that I've personally had really impact my life, and then many of my students have seen a huge shift because I teach psychic development classes as well, and is lowering your walls and barriers. So a lot of us believe that walls and barriers are supposed to protect us, that we're supposed to actually have a shield. And I'm gonna buck the system right now because I'm gonna go completely against anybody that's ever told you to shield. If you believe you should shield, then shield. But I'm gonna ask you to try this just for once and see what it creates for you. So what if your greatest awareness is your greatest safety? So we tend to think that walls are safe, right? But if you lower your walls and barriers and you expand your awareness, you would know when not to be in that alley or not to be with that person or not to take that deal, right?
It's intuitive
But
discernment. I swear to God,
right,
it's
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. It's awesome. So yeah, everybody listening, I want you to just take a minute. You can close your eyes if that's easier. And we're just going to lower the walls and barriers, even the ones we don't know about. We'll push them down, destroy and uncreate them, let them melt. And don't worry, you created them, so you can pick them back up later if you want to. But just for now, lower the walls and barriers even more and even more. And then expand your awareness to include maybe the whole room that you're in. And expand your awareness to include the city that you're in, the state, the country, maybe neighboring countries. Expand out. Let your awareness expand across the sea and into other countries. And if you feel like the walls and barriers are kind of creeping back up, just lower them back down, push them down again. You're safe. You're just allowing yourself to be aware, right? And just notice as your awareness goes around the world. Maybe your awareness is like, yeah, maybe gonna skip that country right now. Or I'm gonna, right? So, but it's just awareness, right? So you don't have to do anything with it, but let yourself be aware of all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Doesn't matter. It's just energy. But then you would know, like based on now what you're perceiving, maybe that country, maybe that neighbor house, right? There's just something about it that you're like, you can be aware of it, but now you know I'm not going to travel to that country, or I'm still probably not going to go knock on that neighbor's house, right? So allow yourself to have the awareness of going, okay, that's not a place for me to go, but I can still know that that's not a place for me to go because that energy is not the vibration or frequency that is in alignment with you right now.
I just love your work. So beautiful to me.
Thank you. And as you become aware, notice how much more that awareness brings a sense of safety because you're being aware of everything. So there is no need to keep yourself behind a wall or barrier, which actually keeps us separate from even the good stuff. We can just stay aware. Awesome. You're ready. You can slowly come back.
So cool. I just love it. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share or say? Like, I just want to like give the stage to you, so to speak. Like, you have so much wisdom, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, well, for some reason, this is intuitively coming through.
I was
I'm
guided to
gonna
ask you.
I'm gonna invite you all to stop caring what other people think. Like it really, this is your life. Live it for you. Don't, if you have an intuitive hit to do something or leave somebody. I mean, I was married when I was married for 7 years, and even to our soul of yoga family, we were considered the sun and the moon. Like I was the moon, he was the sun. We were the perfect couple. And then we got a divorce, and like friends stopped talking to us, everything. But I intuitively knew we weren't supposed to be together forever. I didn't know that at first. I thought we would be together forever, but we weren't. And now he's happily remarried and I'm happily remarried, and he's more with somebody who's more of a match for him. He's a great guy. It's not like he was a bad guy either. That's part of the problem, I guess, is that we think, oh, well, he's a good guy, I should stay with him. Or, we have these excuses instead of just being like, no, is he happy? Are you going to be happy? Is this a long term where you guys are going to constantly be growing and being happy together? But choose what works for you, choose what's true for you, and let go of trying to make, anybody else happy. This is your life.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. So, what are the results that you've seen with your clients as they follow their intuition and create their lives?
I love seeing my clients blossom, I guess is what I call it, because it's like a rocket ship. They go from, even I work with spiritual leaders now too, so people who already are very successful and already have stuff going on in their lives, and it's like, how do we up level? You do get to a point, believe it or not, I know some of you aren't going to believe me when I say this, but you will get to a point where there are no more problems to solve.
That's cool.
And when there are no more problems to solve, what can you create? What can you choose? How can you make your life even greater? So I love working with people who want to make their life greater, like want to quantum leap. I have they're called quantum leap sessions. And it's literally to take you from where you are to make your life even better than you could have ever imagined.
That's awesome. Okay. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, is there anything else you want to share about that, or anything else, like maybe the growth, like what it's like to have a quantum leap, like what that process is like to even embody, right? Because quantum is very quick, right? So it's kind of like, what is that experience like for people? What can they expect?
Well, obviously it's different for everybody based on where they are, but I've recently just worked with a lady, a spiritual leader, doing her work for 20 years. And we worked on her third eye because I do psychic development, right? So I help people also open their psychic abilities. So we worked on her third eye so that she could work on seeing spirits. So we cleared out a lot of blocks that she had to seeing spirits, and to more, she could feel them, she knew they were there, but now she can see them. so just stuff like that. Like we also all run on a past story, that we've always told ourselves from the past. And usually it's a disempowering story. I help people realize that they can create a new story, rewrite their story, and have a completely different life experience based on what they want their story to be now. Are they going to look at their life past as like things that they lost? Or are they going to look at it as a gain and brought them to where they are now?
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's beautiful. It's like a reframe in what we call in NLP,
yep,
right? Yeah.
yep, yeah.
Which is, yeah, like I told you, the person I talked to before, if anybody's watched Peter Sterling yet, like we were talking about these higher vibrations, right? And you get to these higher realms, it's like, it's all working for you. There's such a divine orchestration. And I didn't tell him this, but I'm thinking of now it's like a spider web, like like interconnected, and it's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's so beautiful, especially with the morning dew, like it's just so cool, it sparkles. So it's just kind of like really being in that trust of your intuition and know like everything is working together. And I feel like whether you're to work with me or Venus or anybody, as you start clearing the blocks, you get more aligned to the truth of your intuition. And then it just, you feel light and you feel good. Like you said, there's
Mm-hmm.
problems eventually because you're just kind of like, oh, I'm one with all that is, and I'm fulfilling my soul purpose. And now from this place, I can give, right? So it becomes the contribution and the overflow. So you just want to follow that next step, right? And open, 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 and you'll succeed. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
That's so
And
cool.
how does it, these are a couple questions in access consciousness that are just really great ones to have in your toolbox. How does it get better than this? And what else is possible? And you can ask that when things are crap. And you can also ask that when things are great.
I love that. Can you repeat those questions? That's good.
Yeah. How does it get better than this? And what else is possible?
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just, to me, it like clears the block and expands at the same time with those two questions.
Yep, exactly. It does. Yep. Because it's like, okay, that's done. Moving on.
Yeah. Cool. And then expanding as you move on, you're
Yep.
expanding
Yep.
into something greater.
Yep.
So cool. It's like the infinite ocean. You're just like, so,
Mm-hmm.
so there's something about like, what are like the challenges you've seen with your clients or maybe yourself in following your intuition? And what did you learn?
Well, my story is always the funniest to me because I was very resistant to all of it.
Yeah.
and and I just pushed against my awareness for so long
Yeah.
that I started to get depressed. And I was like, I was tanking energetically, emotionally. And I knew that I had to like lean in and be like, okay, universe, I have these gifts and capacities for a reason. And I'm gonna use them and pay them forward. And that, like, when I don't listen, there's another way to look at it. So like if you're making a choice, you can go, okay, I want to choose that. It feels heavy. If it's heavy, it's a lie for you. So
It's
you're
a
like,
lie.
okay,
A
it's
lie.
a lie. Yeah. If it's light, then it's true for you, right? So maybe somebody's talking to you and they're like saying something and you're like, you're feeling heavy contraction. You're like, oh, there's a lie. You don't have to call them on it because it's your awareness. But if you're following the lightness, you're following the truth in like follow the whispers. That's what I call it. But if you're following the whispers and you follow the lightness, it always gets better because you're following your truth. If you follow the heaviness, I tested this out. I was like, okay, I'm just going to choose heavy for a little while. I'm cute. I'm cute, not bright.
Yeah,
so
go.
I'm like, I'm going to go against my intuition. I'm going to choose everything that's heavy, even though that I know it's heavy and I know it's alive, and I'm just still going to choose it. And I see what it created. And it was like, I just wanted to test it out. And heaviness never created greater for me. Lightness always did. So I now, most of the time, I'm not going to say I'm 100% all the time, but most of the time I stay following the lightness because I know what the heaviness creates.
Cool. So following the light, very simply put. And I guess I just have a question. So when you say lie, to me, what I'm interpreting that is like the highest part of you, right? Because some part of us can think maybe we want something, but you
Mhm.
actually don't. So like, can you speak to that? Like I was just talking to my coach about that. Like I thought about doing a talk on it because it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like we like, oh, I really want that, but it feels heavy. So you like don't really want it because your intuition is like, hey, over here something's even better. So like
Right.
that discernment piece, like can you kind of like expand onto that for everybody?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I did, right? I was like, I know this is heavy and I said shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want it or I think I want it, right?
Right.
And I did that enough that I was like, okay, that never works out. Like I had to like test it. Like I'm like, I want to make sure that this isn't going to work out. And then I'm like, okay, enough choosing against my own knowing gave me the information I needed to start trusting the lightness and following that. So it was
Yeah.
just practice. I think everything is practice, you know.
Totally. And I think, like, really simply put, like you said, it's the feeling. It's a feeling
Yeah.
of lightness versus the
Yeah.
heaviness. Like,
Yeah.
so we don't get trapped in our heads, right? It's like, oh, let me
Mhm.
feel my heart, let me feel my body, put my feet on the ground. Okay, does this feel light? We know what that feels, or does it feel heavy? Like, to keep it
Yeah.
simple, because I feel like I know for me, sometimes I can feel confused. It's like, nope, it's a very simple answer. It's this way or that way, light or
Right.
dark, like light
Yeah.
or heavy,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, well, but you can always test yourself out. You'd be like, it feels heavy, but my head says it's going to be great, so go for it. Like you're not
This might hurt.
wrong to go against it, but it might hurt. It might not work out the way you wanted
Yeah,
it
I was talking about with my business coach, and we're like, well, if you don't follow your intuition, it just hurts. Like, it's just not fun,
to.
like you pay
Right?
the
Yep.
price, So
Yep.
it's kind of
Yep.
like do what yeah, is light. So that's cool. So there was another piece. I don't know what the segue is, but there's something more here. Um, yeah, like that is trusting your intuition, right? To follow that lightness and then take the action on it, right? And then you kind of prove that you can trust yourself and start with the small things and then you can do it in the bigger things, right? Like creating a business or, the relationship, whatever it is, right? Because it's like
Mhm.
you're building that muscle. And yeah, you could write down your results, like, okay, here's what
Yeah.
happened when I did, here's when I did it.
Yeah. You probably won't need to. It's going to
Yeah.
be pretty obvious. You're like, oh, that really didn't work out.
I love it. That's so
That was
cool.
not a bright choice.
Yeah.
So,
Is there anything else you want to share, like about your heart or from your heart? There's a depth I can feel and like your connection and our connection and everybody listening to kind of just drop into deeper, even still into your heart. So Peter was talking a little bit about the chambers of your heart, which is fascinating because one of my teachers, Sonia Choquette, talked about the four chambers of the heart. And this was like
mhm.
over 10 years ago, at least, probably 15. And I'm like, oh my God, that's right. So I know it's real. So if we
Yeah.
like drop in to, let's just say, the center of our hearts, what do we feel at our core knowing? It's just a question I have for everybody. What do we feel at our core knowing? That we just know that we know that we know. Maybe just place one hand on your heart, the other hand on your belly, a couple inches below your belly button, right at your gut feeling, and just take a moment to pause and receive your own intuitive guidance. And whenever it feels complete, you can open your eyes. You can always come back to this video and pause it, and just, isn't that cool to have that confidence of like your trust within yourself?
Yeah.
It's so powerful. So powerful. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to know? You could always ask your intuition. Anything else, like you could just
Yeah.
standing. How does it get better than this?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And
yeah.
when any question, like that's just such a beautiful like practice and like doing that. But like any question or anything that you're asking yourself, pull it out of your head and pull it into your heart.
Yeah.
Your heart knows, your head is not going to figure it out. It's not it's not logical. It's probably not going to look the way that your brain would plan it out anyway. So and just be like, okay, drop into my heart. What
Well,
does my heart say?
yeah, it's an infinite intelligence. That's the definition of intuition. It's like something an intelligence beyond intellectual understanding. That is literally the definition of intuition.
Mhm.
So what you're saying is like the word, right?
That's beautiful.
Because
Yeah,
it's
that's fair. Yeah.
so vast that the
Yeah.
brain can't even comprehend it. That's why we
Mhm.
trust our gut and our heart. So cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I just
And
want
I'll tell you right now, your intuition will probably never look like what it does in your head anyway.
to, yeah.
Like the plan or the like whatever, however you see your life working out, probably not gonna look like that at all.
Feeling. I bet the feeling of being in alignment with your intuition is actually no, because I experience it is so amazing,
Right.
right? So it's like
Yeah.
that's the essence of what you want anyway. So does it really
Yep.
matter what the movie looks like? It matters how you feel when you're watching the movie, you know?
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Um,
Beautiful.
you want to share with us? So fun. I love it. Yeah. Anything else coming through? I just feel like this waterfall just of just energy. It's like pure light energy, I feel flows through you. So I'm guessing like, for our audience, is there anything else that you feel guided to share with them to, bring in more of that clarity and that lightness?
Well, you touched on it. I think it's there's a couple of key pieces to following your own truth is one, not caring what other people think, and two, trusting yourself.
Hmm.
Trust that you know, right?
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it's not going to look the way you think it does, but if you trust here, the universe will surprise you in ways you couldn't imagine.
Mhm.
And just to keep following it. And one of the greatest practices that I've ever given my students is it's called following the whispers. And your job, if you choose to take it, or your home play for the day, is to get in your car. If you have a car, if you have a bike, doesn't matter, whatever mode of transportation, you could walk, that's fine. But you just walk out your door and then you let the intuition tell you which way to go. Do you go right? Do you go left? And anytime you try to get ahead of the next step, so the next stop sign or the next stop light is your next choice, and you just keep going. And then when you get to that stop sign, you go left, right, and or straight. Maybe it's straight, right? And you just follow that to the next stop sign, light, something, and see where your intuition takes you, where following the whispers takes you. Because I have ended up, like I said in the beginning, in some pretty cool places that I never knew existed because I just went with what was in my gut.
I just love it. Okay, so like rewind 20 years ago when our spirits met, like I'm a runner. So I would literally do that as a way to do my intuition. It's exactly what I did. I'd be like, what street do I want to go down? And it's just so fun. And then you'd be like, oh my God, I just met this cool person. Oh my God, I just saw this guy painting. Like it's just so magical. So I'm just like laughing because it's just so exciting. It's so fun, right?
Yeah,
It's just fun. It's an
yeah.
adventure, you
You
know?
might end up in a coffee shop you've never been in before and meet somebody cool. You might pick up the phone or send an email to somebody you never did before, but there was something you're like, I have this pull to do this. It, it the universe just has this magical way of like making everything in your life magical if you just follow the whispers.
I love that. And you have a book that you shared with me the title of Now and Forever. I think it's so beautiful. I would love for just the title and just the energy. I know what you wrote about. I would love for you to share a little bit about that and like your own self-love journey. I know we've talked about, which is just really profound if you'd like to. Yeah.
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah. So I wrote a book. I had a history of looking for love in all the wrong places. So I have many partnerships, many relationships. I've studied 25 different modalities. At least 19 of them were to fix myself, and because I thought I was broken and I needed to be fixed. Turns out nobody's broken and nobody needs to be fixed. I know some of you can't hear that right now, but rewind. Listen to that again. No one and nothing needs to be fixed. Um, so it's really my personal journey on how I broke the cycle of looking for love in all the wrong places and really finding love inside of myself. And now everything in my life is a bonus. I don't need it. I don't have to have it. It's like it adds value to my life, but it's not from that. I'm not whole and complete without it. I'm whole and complete, and everything, how does it get better and what else is possible, right? So everything makes my life even better, but there's not a need. And the book's called Here to Forever, Finally Free to Be Me.
That's so cool. Because like what's coming through is like, what was your journey to get there? Like I understand you tried the wrong places, right? But like I still want to ask you, what's your journey? I think it's written in the book, but it's like,
Mhm.
what was your like internal journey? Like what happened inside of you where you're like, oh, it's already within me. Like what, you know what I'm saying? Because I heard the
Yeah.
external story. I get it. I'm listening, but what's the internal shift? Because that's what I mean by like the core of us, right? That we know
Right.
that still point of like the eye of the hurricane, right? Like getting to that connection point, like plugging
Right.
into the universe. Like I feel like
Mhm.
that's what I want for everybody. That's where we're like on this co-mission right now, you know,
Mhm.
teaching
Yeah.
intuition. So yeah, can
Love
you speak
that.
to that a little bit, like that inner experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And it actually does link back to access consciousness. So I know I've mentioned it before because I do use some of the tools in our talk today, accessconsciousness.com. And it is a modality, a transformational modality that when I got to access consciousness, there's a practice, the five elements of intimacy: honor, trust, gratitude, allowance, and vulnerability. And I chose at the time I was in an abusive relationship, and I knew that if I broke up with him, I'd just end up in another relationship just like it. I finally saw that there was a pattern in my life. It only took me 80 men to see the pattern.
Are you joking? No,
No,
not 80. Are you joking? That's a
I
lot.
am not joking.
What? Holy cow. God is woman like on steroids. My God.
So,
Judgment just
um,
like, wow.
I have no point of view about it. You get it when you get it. Sometimes we're a little slow.
Well, it's been lots.
um, but that I finally saw the pattern, and I was like, okay, this pattern, I'm not gonna be able to break it if I don't stop looking outside of myself for these five elements of intimacy. And that's what we're doing. We're always looking outside of ourselves for honor, trust, vulnerability, allowance, and gratitude. And
Mhm.
so I took those five elements of intimacy with access consciousness, and I said, I'm going to stay in this relationship, even though I know it's abusive. And I'm going to practice these five elements of intimacy. And I'm going to spend a month with one of them, each one, each month. And so I took the five elements. 1 month, I spent a whole month of just focusing on gratitude for me until I felt like I was actually grateful for me. And then I spent a whole month on being vulnerable with myself and just being raw and real and talking to myself and sharing things with myself, being willing to acknowledge that I didn't like myself, stuff like that. And then I went into the other three. But the last one I did was honor. And what was really cool about honor was I knew that honoring me was no longer being in that relationship, but that I was also honoring him because he wasn't a bad person. He just, when he drank too much, he became mean, right? So he has his own demons. But it wasn't an honoring of me or of him to try to stay with him and change him.
Mhm.
An honoring of somebody is honoring where they are in their lives and being okay with, okay, this is where you are in your life, but it's just not where I am in my life, so I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And at that moment I could leave with a clean slate.
Yeah.
And then I stayed single for a while because I was like, I don't actually need a relationship anymore. I'm not looking for those five elements of intimacy outside of myself. They exist in here.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest pivot for me. And that it is in the book. Those five elements of intimacy are in the book.
So like my like completion thing in me, what are the last two? Just so we can hear them. So
Yeah.
you said three. What are the
Yeah.
other two?
So sometimes I have to just go through them all. So
Oh, that's
there's
okay.
allowance, gratitude, vulnerability, honoring, and trust.
Yeah. Okay. So we kind of
Mm-hmm.
talked about trust today.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's cool. I think that's maybe why I asked that. Yeah. And
Yep.
vulnerability, that's beautiful. Being vulnerable with yourself, like being
Mm-hmm.
honest with how you really feel about something.
Yeah. Or even just on it. Like I had somebody years ago say, would you date you? And I was like, no, absolutely not. But when I said that out loud, I was like, why? like, and that going down in the vulnerability path made me like look at like, why do I think I would date myself? Where did that come from? I was just willing to like dig into the mud and just be like, okay, what's here, and be willing to look at it. And then also be willing to look at, all right, is that heavy or light? Is it really true for me? And then if it was heavy, I'd be like, oh, it's not actually true for me. I just bought that from somebody else. Somebody else had a point of view about me or about somebody in my life. And we pick up beliefs all over the place, right?
Well,
So,
something Venus taught me was return to sender, and I just love it. It's funny because I do remember it when I took the access consciousness, like I don't know, it was probably around that time, like 10 or 15 years ago. But I got this call the other day from a client. It was like almost 8 o'clock. And I do my private clients. I'm really there for my peeps. So he's like, can I ask you a question? And like somebody was like projecting on him. They're like, oh, you can come for this scholarship. Oh, now we want to like charge you. And he's like, Abby, should I do it? I was like, okay, what does your intuition say? Intuitive
right.
discernment, and then return to sender. Like, just don't take it on. Like, no way, right? So it's
Yep.
fun to like start using the tools, right? And then help people
Yep.
around you because it's like, man, your vibe, I guarantee you, does feel really good. The pure and clean, just like slate soul that is you is beautiful, right? It's just like clearing off the energy that isn't yours. And that is mostly what we did in our session was like, whoa, that's not mine. And I was like, wow, I feel amazing. So it's just like really cool. Like I'm just always really authentic. And it's like, I just want to share that with people. Like, I guarantee you who you are feels amazing. And so as you let go of what isn't you, you'll probably feel high on life.
Which 98% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are not yours. 98%. So
Yeah, totally. I agree.
we're just psychic SpongeBobs, right? We're just walking around picking up everybody else's stuff. So it's just like, okay, return to sender, not mine.
And the other thing that I remember you saying is it true? Or you're like truth, true or untrue? What do
Truth.
you
Yeah.
say? Truth.
I say truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is like intuition, like truth. Is it
Yeah.
true? Yes or no? That's what you say.
Right.
You're like truth. Yes or no? And I was like, no.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But
Because
right? Like
we instantly know. That's the thing about intuition too, is it's instant,
yeah.
right? If the minute you are like trying to figure it out, you're in your head. You're
Yeah.
not following your intuition anymore. You
Totally.
get like instant knowing. You're not supposed to be with that person instantly. You might still do it, but
Right. Right.
you had that gut feeling right out of the gate. You're like, something's off here, but I don't care. He's cute.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Truth is always there. I agree. I agree. And on a positive note, I remember when I had the wellness center, like I had this, I think she was calling in for her husband. And it was like she was wanting to change them. I'm like, you can't do that. They have to make the change. But everybody's intuition will continue to speak to them. So sometimes people would come in for like depression or anxiety. And even now I could have clients like that, right? And it's like, it's depressing the spirit, right? Because the intuition is still like, hey, I'm here. So you can kind of suppress it, but
yeah,
like intuition is still there. So like no matter how many times you say no, like the truth is still going to bounce back and like try to get that out of your system. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just think
yeah,
that it's cool that it also really does, it always works for us, right? But like saying, oh, okay, even if I am depressing what knows, it's still going to bounce back and like I'm going to feel the truth in a really big way, or I might feel anxious because like I'm really not supposed to be there right now, so now I'm going to move over here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
feelings are your guides.
yeah.
So part of your guides, your guidance system. Yeah. So I don't know, is there anything else you wanted to share? It's just fun to bring in real life examples of that, right? Like you can't change a person, they have to choose. And no matter, if there's depression or anxiety, it's because you're not listening. But the cool thing is your intuition is always there. It's going to keep speaking to you. And eventually, you know, I hope if you aren't listening, it'll get so strong that you're like, man, I just do not want to feel depressed or anxious anymore. So I actually am going to listen to what I know and get on my soul's path and make
Right.
doing it
Yeah.
if you want.
Yep. Yeah,
Intuition.
well, I mean, that was becoming spontaneously becoming a clairvoyant medium, and then at 30, and then resisting it for 3 years, and
Yeah.
just being, and I started to just get depressed, and then I just finally was like, okay, universe, God, whatever you believe in, I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, gave me this for a reason.
Yeah.
I'll lean in, I'll accept it. Then the depression lifted. I was able to like, my capacities grew. They stopped feeling like they were overwhelming. So all those things, like when you lean in, when you accept, it's when you have that allowance, it definitely lightens things up. It doesn't make them so heavy, you know. So because when it's heavy, you're going against, it's a lie. You're going against what's true for you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, wow. I love that. Or is there anything else you want to share? And also if like you want to like spell out the name of your website and how people can start to work with you, learn about, maybe sign up for the leadership program, because I know you do one-on-one sessions, but you also have this amazing program if you want to talk about what's new and up and coming.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I have a monthly membership. It's called the Inner Light Council. And it really is for spiritual leaders and anybody looking to like take things to the next level. Super fun. And you can find out more information about anything that I do at venuscastleberg.com, venuscastleberg.com. And go to the services page. If you would also like to just talk to me about the different things that I offer and find out where you are in your, I'd love to get to know you, find out where you are in your life, what you're really looking for. I offer free initial consultations. You can book those on the services page as well. So
Right. That's so awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. It's just always so fun to connect. I always love it.
thank you. You too. And yeah, I think that the closing thing I'd just say to everybody is the world needs you to be you. It doesn't need you to be somebody else. So go be you.
Wow, I love that. It's like I didn't even have to ask the question. You just intuited the answer. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This is Abby Gooch on Intuition to Income, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.